Hi, Jim Mowry from Backrack. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about the maintenance on the PGM. This is the 3015-5696, which is the version with the charcoal canister on the front of it. What I'd like to do is talk a little bit about fault codes and how to do some maintenance on it, and also how to check the filters. These things are pretty much self-diagnostic. When you go into the menu, you can go down to the word faults and back up one incident, because you'll probably be looking at all zeros, with the left-hand arrow key and see what the last fault was. If you get an 800 fault, which is the most common, the 800 fault indicates that something is clogged in the wand. Either the tip is clogged, the hose is clogged, or this internal filter has become clogged with something. If you take and remove the wand assembly from the front of the PGM, just like that, and the 800 fault code still persists, that indicates that the filter inside the unit, which is a hydrophobic water stop filter, is clogged. So the wand was more than likely flowing free, but you would want to check this to make sure there's no dirt or water in it, and then open the case and begin to inspect the internal filter to see what was wrong with it. One of the other fault codes that you're going to get is an 0100. The 0100 fault code indicates that this charcoal filter in the front pouch has been contaminated with either too much refrigerant from your leak check cycles or water or dirt. So an 0100 says our charcoal filter is bad. An 0800 says there's something blocked in the intake, either the wand filter, or the filter inside the unit. What I'm going to do now is show you how to take the filter inside out of the unit to check it. The first thing you need to do is open the top of the case by lifting the Velcro fasteners on it. Once you've removed the Velcro fasteners, you can stick your hand down inside the side of the case and unplug the battery cable, and also unplug the hose assembly that goes to the charcoal canister. Once I've disconnected those two items, I can lift it out of the case by freeing it in the front from the connector. Now that I have the unit out of the case, and you can see it's pretty well made, it's in a metal case, so it does take a little bit of a beating, so you don't have to think it's very fragile. I'm going to get into the front of the unit by removing these 6 screws. And this is a pretty fast process. Even if you're in the field and this thing becomes clogged up, you can usually change it very, very quickly within about 15 minutes and get back into operation again. Now this is the tricky part, if there is a tricky part. This is very close coupled inside. So when you move this away, don't just yank it out. These are push to connect, and you depress this little ring to disconnect them. So I'm going to depress that little ring, and now I can take the front panel off. Inside the box, as you can see right here, is my hydrophobic filter. So I can, at that point, turn it on end, reach in, and disconnect my hydrophobic filter and replace it at this point. Also, when you get this out, you want to look at it to see if the filter is gray on one side or white on the other side. And just pulls off the end of that hose like that. The inlet side, if it's gray and still functioning, you may want to think about getting a spare, because when this clogs up completely, that's when you're going to get that 0800 fault. Make sure you don't get water in these things. If you do, take them out right away. This Gore-Tex membrane will stop water from getting into the rest of your unit. It only stops it for 3 to 5 days. If you don't do something about the fault in 3 to 5 days, the water can get through it and cause damage inside. So I recommend, if you have an 0800, check your wand first. Check this. If there's water in here, get it out, replace it right away. The part number on this is different, even though it looks like the filter that's in our multi-zone refrigerant wall-mounted monitor, the porosity is different. The part number on this is 07-1654. The part number on this inline filter is 3015-3071. And the part number on the charcoal filter in the front is 3015-3125. It might be a very good idea to have one of each of these on hand, so if something happens, you can fix it and continue operating the unit without having to send it in for repair or have a long delay of downtime. So once you've taken this out, you replace it. It's as simple as coupling it back into the tubing again. And putting the front panel right back on with the push to connect fittings. Push it right in. It's now connected. I can put this panel back onto the unit and reinstall my screws and put it back together again. Typical maintenance on these would be replacing the inline filter, the 0371. And once again, if you do get an internal filter fault, then you would be replacing the filter inside the unit if the 0800 persists when you remove the wand. That's all the more difficult it is. It's a very simple machine to maintain and operate and easy to repair in the field. There's no reason to have to send this in for repair when you can fix it if you have the parts on hand. Okay, once you replace the front cover, it's a very simple process to put this back into the case. So make sure that these two items, the battery connection and the zero filter, is out of the way, and then just insert it back into the case, being careful not to pin those underneath, and then work it back down into the cover. Then we plug these back into the appropriate outlets, this one being the zero air port, and this one being the battery port. The other one marked exhaust is only used in special applications where you would have to run a line outside of the area that you're monitoring. Once you put this back together, extend the probe out the front and put your cover back on and plug in my wand assembly. Once you've done that, you can then turn on the machine and allow it to warm up. Once it's warmed up for 5 minutes, it's ready to go and find your leaks. Thank you.